It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was the right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this. Get right on it, Chief.
Best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KLTX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. It's Free for All Friday. I'm old Alan Autry, and as always, honored, humbled, and as they say in the South, just tickled to death to have you with us today. You hear that a lot out here in Fresno too, Bullet Bob, do you? A lot of Southerners out here, a lot of transplanted Southerners.
I've never heard that phrase in Fresno. I hate to break that to you.
You come on.
Tickled what?
Tickled to death, aren't you? Oh, I'm tickled. You heard that in Riverdale?
I heard tickled pink.
Tickled.
I don't know what that means, but
Tickled pink.
Yeah.
I'm tickled pink and tickled death. All of them. All the tickles.
you're just tickled.
I'm just totally tickled to be here, man. Love to have you here
As
with
long
us.
as you're not triggered.
Oh, man.
Ticked's okay.
Well,
Triggered, not so much.
Mr. Trigger isn't with us today. Guillermo Moreno. All you got to do is Trump shouldn't run. Bam! Get ready for a 20-minute diatribe coming back your way. Like a hurricane, man.
Without taking a breath.
Yeah, well, if Guillermo had, he double booked, and he called me up today, very apologetic. Wanted to be here, so he says, I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to be there on Monday, so he's going to be here Monday. But he's a busy guy. We miss him, but the show must go on.
Yes.
Right? The show must.
Yep.
Where do we start? Well, you know what? Let's start with looking up here at the screen at Joe Biden. Just came from his meeting with Israel, with the new leader of Israel, Lapid there. They had a little disagreement on how to handle the Iranian situation, Bullet Bob. Biden firmly behind diplomacy, that's going to stop the terrorists who have in their version of their constitution that Israel and the United States should be wiped off the face of the earth. Not a thing to be singled out as countries, but he thinks you can sit down and talk with them. And the prime minister there said that's not going to work. They have to use force if necessary. And all of this was in the reference of nuclear weapons, of whether Iran was going to be allowed to have them. Worst thing in the world. You want to take the first step towards World War III. The end of the plan to let Iran have it. Don't you think, Bobby?
I think that's probably fairly accurate.
Yeah, but
overview. Yeah.
Yeah, I think any sane individual would come to that conclusion. You just can't let that regime have nuclear weapons. It would just be irresponsible. And again, the risk. So you just shudder to think about it. But now they got Joe back on the plane. He went to Saudi Arabia, just got off the plane there not too long ago, and chose to shake hands with the elder king, King Salman bin Abdulaziz,
Okay.
and to fist bump a guy who, he's got his own letters, MBS. That's what he's known around the world. But,
MBS?
Yes.
Oh.
That's the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the boy, the young guy.
All right.
The guy that our intelligence community reported back to Biden was behind the killing and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post
The correspondent there.
journalist there. And Biden proceeded to call Saudi Arabia, has called him for a long time, a pariah country. Well, now, because of gasoline creeping up to $8 a gallon, he's over there begging the Saudi Arabians to, hey, what I said, remember I said you're going to be a pariah nation? I misspoke.
How successful
I meant
do you think that'll
Mariah
be?
Carey nation. What?
How successful do you think he'll be?
I think they will. They're weighing they meaning the Saudis. They're going to weigh what kind of political advantage they're handicapped that they'll get out of this.
Of course, yeah.
Don't you think? I think they're handicapping the
interestingly-
midterms just like everybody is here.
Interestingly, I was speaking with a fellow this morning on our bike ride. Well, we weren't speaking on the bike ride, but when we stopped to rest, and of the liberal persuasion, and he said that he didn't think a single thing would be accomplished by Joe Biden going to Saudi Arabia, and I thought that was an interesting take. I didn't have a chance to follow up. The follow-up question would be, well, why do you feel that way, or why do you think that way? But unfortunately, we started talking about something else, so I didn't follow up with that. But he was of the opinion that nothing was going to come of this.
Well, I tend to agree with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
he just didn't think he was going to be very effective, I guess, in negotiating anything.
Yeah. I mean, all the leverage, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, every nation, even Western Europe in a certain sense, has leverage over the United States of America because there's not one leader that is totally controlled by a nonsensical, crazy ideology like this president is with the woke left. He surrounded himself with folks that are just, and I don't mean this to be mean, I really believe this, that if you sat down and questioned them as a psychiatrist, you would find them with severe issues bordering on clinically insane. No, I don't. I mean to say that a man's not a man, a woman's not a woman, that a man can give birth. Yeah. I mean, it's part of the ideology that this woke left has. In addition to many other crazy things, that you shouldn't have a border. But no country in the world thinks that they should have open borders. You got to get a passport, a visa, here in this country. That's right, to go anywhere in the country. Why? Because the other countries require it. Yeah. They have to know who they're letting in their country. You have this defund the police, and if you treat criminals and murderers nicely, and then punish the law-abiding people, that you're going to have less crime. I mean, you can go down the line. It's more than just bad policy or erroneous policy. It goes to an imbalanced brain.
Yeah. What would make you think that not charging criminals or posting zero bail would decrease crime?
Yeah. It's
yeah, and we're finding out. Well, did you see the CEO of Starbucks the other day? I don't know if you guys talked about this. Who is now? They're closing 16 different locations.
Oh, I saw it.
Because the crime in those locations does not allow their employees to be safe at work.
Yeah.
And these are the same guys, Starbucks. Come on. What are you drinking?
I got my Starbucks.
Okay.
There. I'm not gonna throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm looking for a better coffee. I am. But they're so convenient.
The guy right down here
Does he have a drive-through? No, he doesn't.
He's got to
See?
walk in.
Okay, I'm in a hurry. I got a lot of things on the plate. That's where Starbucks is. But listen, tying that all in
exactly.
to Joe Biden, the question was, what's he going to be able to accomplish? He has zero leverage, zero respect around the world. They see what happened in Afghanistan. They see what he's doing here internally, doing crazy stuff like stopping the Keystone Pipeline, taking the sanctions off Putin on his pipeline, on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. All of these crazy policies, and they're just kind of saying to themselves, what is America anymore? We can't depend on them militarily. We can send money till we're absolutely broke over there to the Ukraine, but there's no coherent plan to have a solution to that war, a peaceful solution. It's just, let's do what we always did. Let's get into wars and let a bunch of the defense contractors and a lot of people make a doo-doo load full of money, as they always do. So, but I find it interesting that they're keeping this man at 79 years old on a breakneck schedule. That makes me wonder, do they kind of want him to, face plant?
Is that intentional?
Face plant right over there,
Is that intentional or what?
You fist bump
we
the Crown Prince and then face bump, and
we don't wish any ill will, obviously.
Well,
But
I
that's
don't.
a tough schedule.
They got to know.
It's tough for me just to get up and come down here in the same town, and I'm only 70.
But I mean, let me
but for him to be
if you
going all over the world,
if you were Columbo, right, and you were looking at this situation, and who would have more of a motive to have Joe Biden gone from the scene? Would it be the Republicans or the Democrats? My common sense tells me
that's a good question.
Well, I think this was to be the Democrats. Every day he's in office, him and Kamala, they injure the brand, the Democratic brand. You see this guy Tim Ryan out of Ohio is battling J.D. Vance for the Senate seat there in Ohio. He doesn't want. He's flat said, "Don't Joe Biden, don't come here.
Don't endorse me.
I don't want you anywhere around."
Well,
and it kind of makes you wonder. I mean,
that probably says a lot. Would
they really mourn if this man, God forbid, had a health event or keeled over coming out there? I mean, he's going through time zones, crazy. That would wear anybody out.
Yeah.
And, I looked at him yesterday at his press conference. He does not look well. I mean, he never looks spry, but he doesn't look well. What do you think about that? I mean, that's really a reach, but
I didn't really think much about it until you mentioned it.
My question is, they're intentionally trying to wear him down so he can face plant and get the 25th Amendment, initiate the 25th Amendment that he's too sick to serve, and he gets out of there. They get Kamala in there. She appoints a middle-of-the-road Democrat, which, get somebody like Joe Manchin to come on, which Joe wouldn't do it.
No.
But you get somebody.
Well, it's an interesting concept. I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
I think they're trying to wear him out. I think they're trying to run him into the ground like a pack mule.
I've gone overseas once.
They got the old whip plane flight. Come on, Joe. Pull that wagon. Where else can we send him? Saudi Arabia. Where's next? Let's go to Malaysia. How about that? Get him over to Australia. Then where? Congo. What a great place. Let's let him bite the big one in Congo.
Well, I've been to Europe one time in my life when we went a couple of years ago, and the plane flight itself, to me, it was 13 hours in the air. We took a direct flight out of LAX to Zurich, and the plane flight in and of itself was exhausting. And I didn't do anything but sit there, or get up and wander around every now and again. And you get there, and it's a whole different lifestyle, culture, and everything. Granted, he's not going to be there long. But just the travel itself, flying back and forth.
But just think about it. If you're making a schedule, because your friend said, I don't see anything that can come of this. I don't see anything valuable. Saudi Arabia may increase their output of oil a little bit, but you saw the clip with Macron coming up to Biden and whispering to Biden, look, I've talked to the Saudis, and they can only increase a little bit. Don't expect too much. So you're sitting there.
Which won't make any difference.
Yeah. So you've been over there, you visited Israel, and you signed this kind of symbolic pact with Iran that Iran shouldn't have nukes. Okay. It's not binding. It's more symbolic than anything.
It's written in sand.
And you send him over. It seemed like they'd say, his advisor would say, this crown prince, Khashoggi criticized him, and we know how it happened to Khashoggi. Biden called him pariah nation. Now, by all means, let's go send him to the guy who dismembered one of his critics for no reason, and you won't get anything out of it. Well, it makes you wonder, makes you think the unthinkable. You're going to send him to visit a mass murderer that dismembers his critics and sends his body parts all over the world.
Oh my word!
Let's send him in there to kind of hang out with him after he's insulted him.
Oh well.
All right.
Yeah, I never thought about it, Hoss, but it's an interesting take on it.
It's it all goes back.
Where's he going next? Is he coming back home after Saudi Arabia? Is he coming back?
I think they're going to send him up. I think he needs a little time off. I think they're going to send him up and do some cordless bungee jumping. One of his aides said that'll show his vitality.
Oh, you're terrible. Cordless.
About parachuting or something. Mountain climbing. Get him on top of the. I don't know. It just does not. You do not send a man no mask. You said, "Here's the guy. You got access. You got to wear the mask." I wouldn't be surprised if he gets COVID. It makes no sense to send this man at this time around the world when he's got all of these domestic issues. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know what the whole.
Okay, was. Another thing that's and this really irritates me because so many people fall for it.
What now?
Well, you know the old advertising trick. You go into a store. You go into a store, and they have these little cheap bamboo baskets or something, and you look at the price on it, and the price is like $190. And they have the $190 crossed out, and they have on sale for $5. And they make you think like you've got this great deal. Well, if you see today in Atlanta, they're jumping up and down, whistling zippity-doo-dah out of the rear ends. Yeah, you see, the price of gasoline dropped 30 cents. 30 cents it dropped. It dropped to $4.10 a gallon. That's what they do. They raise the price of gasoline $7, $8 here in California, some places. Then you drop it down to $5 or $4 to make you think you got a deal. That's still $4 a freaking gallon. Just about 18 months ago, we were paying $2, less than $2 a gallon. But celebrate, guys.
Hey, I celebrated yesterday.
What'd you celebrate?
I put gas in. It was $5.29 a gallon.
Yeah, you bought it, didn't you?
Which was down from $5.69. And
you felt good, didn't you?
Man.
Don't let them get you, Bobby.
Put another $1 in
Bobby, don't let them get you. You know the reason I said that? What? I almost fell for it, too. I'm not going to fall for this. They're not going to I guarantee you, they're going to raise that gasoline up to $12, $13 a gallon, bring it down to $8, and we're going to be walking around saying, boy, I never thought mass transit could be so fun. Yeah, this hitchhiking, let's bring back hitchhiking. This is kind of cool. Thank you, Democrats.
Jump on that e-bike.
I'm telling you, they think we're sheeple. We're not people, we're sheeple.
Oh, my word.
And it's an old tactic. It's worked all the time. Don't let them get away with it.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay. All right. Well, when I'm lambasting you, I'm lambasting myself. Because I'm just as susceptible for this as anybody. But, at our advanced age, when you get burnt so many times by things like this, our economy cannot handle $4 and $5 a gallon gasoline. I'm firmly convinced of that. People on fixed incomes are going to suffer. The poor are going to suffer the most.
Middle America suffers.
Right.
Guys like you and me.
The multiplier is such, the economy's not ready to absorb something like this. Between $2, $3.25 pushing it, what I've seen, that's pushing it. $3.25 would be the limit. If you use your car, and we're in a country that we do. And anyway, when we come back, this is Alan Autry, No Retreat. God, we got a lot to cover, Bobby. But I want to talk about this.
We also have Laura on the line.
All righty.
Hey, let me read you what Steve sent me. Because I texted him this morning, and I said, "Hey, SM, glad to hear surgery went well. You're recovering." He says, "Hey, Bob, everything's on track to getting back to normal. Still on the feeding tube, but drink through the same tube, and have a drain from my abdomen and the fluids, and their levels are looking much better."
Oh, it's great.
Went through
to
all
hear.
the gory stuff. I go back to the surgeon on the 21st for a swallow test to make sure there's no leakage in the abdomen. I'm taking it one day at a time, but always a step forward. Thanks for checking in, Steve. So
Yeah, folks, that's a good friend of ours, childhood friend who's facing some challenges now, and just got some really good news.
Yep.
Went through a procedure and on his way to recovery.
Yep, doing good.
Yeah, that's one of the
Doing
things
better.
Yeah, that's about one of the things about getting our age. Things happen, man.
Well, I'm worried about my golf game, and this guy's fighting for his life, So
Yeah.
there's your priorities. There's your perspective right there.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to keep your mind. It's all right to think about golf. Our time's God's time, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. We face things in life that are such an overwhelming aspects to it, especially if it's happening. I would say to ourselves, but actually, it's what happens to our loved ones. It's even kind of worse on us. Seeing relatives, good friends go through very difficult times, health-wise and otherwise.
Yeah.
But all we can do is, and what we need to do is be there for them in every way that we can. And realize there's only so much we can do, and it's ultimately in God's hands. And go ahead and live your life. If I live old enough and things are going to happen, I'll either die suddenly or have a little bit longer way out of this world. I don't want somebody feeling sorry for me, asking how I'm doing all the time. Yeah, check in on me. Let's talk, but let's just, we don't have to talk about my condition or what have you. Let's talk about good stuff. Talk about a golf game. Well, that wouldn't be good stuff with you. But
Hey, I won $15 yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Man, what did that guy shoot?
Had a. I had.
Did you see what Guillermo? What he said he shot?
1 minute?
What?
Like 120,
Oh.
125.
Was he have his eyes closed? Or?
That's a young man that shot that.
Hmm.
I thought I was. But anyway, you know what I mean, folks. Just go and live your life and do your best. Let God do the rest. But that's great news from SM there.
Yeah. Good guy. What did Jeremy say? 1 minute?
Except 30 seconds.
Dr. J?
1 minute.
Oh.
Okay.
30 seconds?
This is scientifically proven, folks. Chocolate and shopping are as addictive as LSD and steroids. That's from the
What?
Psychological Journal. Yes.
LSD
Chocolate and
steroids.
shopping are more addictive than LSD and
10
steroids.
seconds?
Well, the chocolate I can see.
Did you ever take LSD? No, that was big during
What
our
kind of
day.
a question
I
is
never
that?
took it. Well, I
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
welcome back to Alan
said it with a
Autry, No
straight
Retreat.
face.
I got to share this with our radio listeners. During the break, we were talking to our online Autry Army team.
Hey, can I say one thing before
Yeah,
you get
absolutely.
I've been doing this for a few months now, and I just wanted to thank everybody out there for all the kind words toward me since I've been on the air with you. Some great folks out there. So thank you very much. Love you. And
Yeah, I second that.
keep them coming.
I second that. I hope they're real people, not robots.
I
Not
think
bots.
they're- I think they're real.
Well, no, Elon Musk come up there and said half of Twitter's bots.
I just hit my
They're not real. But I know you all are real. But no, real quick, chocolate and shopping are more addictive than LSD and steroids.
Okay.
And before we came back to the radio folks, I'd asked Bob if he had taken LSD. And the only reason I say that, we're children of the 60s, 70s. I never did. Probably sampled everything else in my college days and stuff.
I
I'm
never took LSD.
not proud to say, but never could drop the old LSD. I was scared to death of that
Yeah,
stuff.
that would scare me.
I heard about melting walls and, all that stuff,
Yeah.
You listen to Jimi Hendrix, all the lyrics from the musicians back.
Oh, well, I listened to Jimi Hendrix.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
Yeah, well, I think
know?
I might have been there once
Yeah.
or twice.
Jack Daniels.
Non-LSD.
Who needs LSD when you got a little
That's
Johnny Walker Red? Okay. We got Laura on the line. We'll go to her in just a second. But this transition, these people from fossil fuels to renewables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think if that could be done, and it could be done without destroying an economy, that could be done without taking the food off the tables, those that are the most needy, that you could do it without totally, as I said, destroying the economic system that we have, I'm all for that. But that can't happen today. They say, well, you see folks around Biden saying, we're glad that it's $5, $6, $7, $8 a gallon gasoline. It's going to make, people get electric vehicles. The electric vehicles ain't there. The affordable electric vehicles for the person on a fixed income ain't there. Have you priced them lately? Biden administration, what do you do in the interim? You got to phase this stuff in. Excuse me. And I look back at the days when you do a little history. I remember talking about mom and grandpa when it was going from the horse and buggy into cars. It was a slow transition. And the harness salesman went out of business slowly. They had a chance to harness salesmen to become, mechanics or whatever, work on the car, go around selling carburetors or tires or what have you. It happened many times. Well, you can see it on some of the photos, in books and on YouTube and that sort of thing. A town where you see half, you got half cars, you've got half. Bobby's got to excuse himself, a little situation there. But you had, you see them. You got horses and you got cars on the same street, and it happened over a period of years, quite a few years. But they made the transition, and the economy was not disrupted at all. In fact, the economy grew. They knew you couldn't just cold turkey and go to cars because people, same situation as now, they couldn't afford a car. And they had to make the cars more affordable, and that took time. And I don't see why they don't go look at that past situation and say, okay, we're going to make this transition, and someday we might have a solar-powered car. Right now, we don't have it. We have to fix the grid because right now, if everybody was transitioned over, the grid would collapse.
Couldn't handle it. Yeah.
I mean, and you look in Texas where they're ready for blackouts again this year. Texas,
California.
of all places.
California.
We can understand California because how crazy we are out there, the politicians. But look at all the oil that they produce in Texas, yet a lot of that state's gone all in on windmills and solar panels, and which is fine. But in terms of basically transportation and the transportation of goods, you just don't have the technology to do that thing, bam, right now.
No.
And yet this woke left says do it. And yeah, it's easy for you to say because you don't feel the pain of that. You're going to be able to withstand that.
Right.
With your paid health care and all that government health care and your guaranteed paycheck, your pensions and all that. Let's go. We got Laura on the line. Laura, welcome to Free for All Friday.
Hello.
Well, hello. Are you there?
I'm not happy today. I am not happy today.
Why are you not happy? Are you unhappy with me again? I still love you.
No, I'm not unhappy with you. I love you like sweet tea as always. But I'm absolutely infuriated that they decided it was a good idea to send Joe Biden over to the Middle East to do nothing more than fist bump a murderer. And because of that, they have now suspended all State Department evacuation flights out of the Middle East.
Is
What?
that
For
right?
security.
Run that by me again. Go ahead.
My family was supposed to be coming from Islamabad this weekend here to Florida. Is now still stuck in Islamabad indefinitely, and my three families that were supposed to fly out of Kabul next week are going to be stuck there because Joe Biden had to go to the Middle East, and it was a security issue. So now they've indefinitely suspended all State Department flights out of the Middle East.
Let me ask you this. All right, I get you. I get you. Let me ask you and try to separate your because I get you 100%. This happened to me, I'd be just infuriated. But what is the reasoning? Where is the timing that would suggest this would be the time to send this president on this barnstorming tour of the Middle East? when you've got the Ukrainian issue, what can the Saudis do? What could Israel really do? And to hearken back to what Bobby said, his liberal friend said, the liberals don't even get, you put him on a plane, you head out, you're going to meet. What's the agenda? In fact, they weren't even sure up until the last moment whether Biden was even going to meet with the Crown Prince. Go ahead.
The whole thing is it's nothing more than a photo op. Because at the end, he's not going to get anything out of MBS. MBS is in the middle of a heavy-duty bromance with Putin and Xi Jinping. Do you really think he's going to do anything for Biden? No. It's nothing more than a photo op.
Right.
That's all it is.
I'm baffled. I mean, what do they – anything less than Biden saying, look, my bad, he's not a murderer, they're not a pariah nation. And so I want to cozy up to them and be friends with them, and that's not going to happen. So again, you're left scratching your head, going, when is the nonsensical things that this administration does? Is it ever going to stop? Is there a rhyme or reason or a plan for any of it?
The only thing that they've done right now is put more people's lives in danger.
I agree.
Because there were 400 people that were supposed to fly out of Kabul. All of them had their lives in danger. They were living in safe houses. They were hiding from the Taliban. And now those flights have been canceled.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen. How are they going to get them back from the airport? Because most of them were already at the airport.
Oh, wow.
And just get there. It's taking their lives in there.
So
they've abandoned 7,000 people in Abu Dhabi indefinitely. It's disgusting. I am so angry and so disgusted with this administration and their entire. It's more important to make sure that we don't identify someone as a woman, but rather a birthing person or a menstruator. But it's okay for people to be beheaded that we left behind.
I get you 100%. And Laura, and I know this gets me. You're looking at them and you're saying, Bobby, you're saying, you're good. You're obviously proven to be untruthful. I hate to use the L word, but liars. I mean, but this administration lies so much. Biden has made a history. 50 years he's been lying, and that's not me, through clenched teeth because I hate it. It's just an analytical view of his career, and he's plagiarized an entire speech. It goes on and on and on. So you would think that he and the rest of the folks who have made lying an art form would be able to come up with some manufactured victory that he could come back, land in Washington, D.C., and even pull a Neville Chamberlain peace in our time paper, even if it's bogus. What? He's not even going to have anything other than, we signed a symbolic paper with Israel to say Iran can't have nukes. You know what? That's what astonishes me. There was not even any manufactured straw man victories, or even one of them that they had there. They just said, okay, it's on the schedule. I don't even know when it was planned. I mean, I don't know if this was planned way ahead of time or something the spur of the moment. But another reason why we just need to change. And I know people roll their eyes when I say this, Laura, and that's okay. I promise you, as sure as I'm sitting here right now on Friday afternoon at Manchester Center and KXEX with Bobby sitting there and you on the line here, if this president, being a Democrat, would have made decisions in the best interest of this country, I would be singing his praises. I really would. I have no problem with going against the tide, going against popular opinion. There's this gal here. I don't know if you saw, Laura, Victoria Spartz, from the representative from Indiana, who's come out and saying, look, I have real problems with what Zelensky's doing over there. She was born in Ukraine, raised in Ukraine, been back to Ukraine 6 times since this war started. And she says, listen, I hate Putin. The invasion is unconscionable, but this money is going into crooked people's hands that we're sending over there, and you had better go over there and do some due diligence and watch this, where this money goes, because he's surrounded by crooks. And now who's saying, coming back at him, back at her, Lindsey Graham, this one representative, Laura and Bob and listeners, went as far as to say, well, her naivete is really hurting America. This dude probably hadn't been to Ukraine ever in his life. And you're going to tell a lady who was raised in Ukraine, been there 6 times, has family there right now, that she's naive because her view of the war and it doesn't jive with yours.
Yeah.
But my point was, I veered off there just to say, look, I don't mind saying, hey, this woman has a point. You know, we need to listen to her, whether you agree with her. We need to listen to her because she's coming from a position of a perspective that warrants respect because she is Ukrainian. She has that perspective there. And I don't give a rat's behind how many Republicans come at me and to call me a traitor or say that I'm a Putin apologist. I'm just a common sense guy that is not bought and paid for by a political party. And if that's where you stand, you're going to take stands like this. And like I said, if Biden would have been the Biden that many thought he would be, a middle-of-the-road Democrat, a common sense individual that would bring, a kind of an exhale to the country after 4 years of Trump. If he would have been that guy,
with this situation now, for me, I don't care if he lies. I don't care. All I'm asking for is some basic human decency.
Mm-hmm.
Clean up your mess that you already made.
Yes. And I know.
Get these would-be Americans out before you go into another war.
Exactly right. There's a callousness.
I want Anthony Blinken's head on a spike in my front yard. That's what I really, really want more than anything. Yeah. Because he's behind this. He's behind all of it.
Yeah, but Laura, and I'll only cut Biden so much slack for the age and thing. At the end of the day, Harry Truman said it best: "The buck stops with me." I had, when I was mayor, perspectives presented to me that were not something that I knew that I felt we should do. Vindictive, revengeful type of ideology from certain folks that I had around me. Most of them were great, and even these folks were great, but they had a perspective. And it was my job at the end of the day to say no to that line of thinking and do what was best for the city of Fresno, all the residents of the city of Fresno.
You have a spine
that's what I'm saying.
Biden doesn't have one.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I think he's got a spine, but it's twisted. He's going to stand by no energy independence for America. He's going to stand behind bowing down to these mass murderers. He's going to stand by the woke left's agenda until it's apparent. He's not going to triangulate at all like Bill Clinton did, at all. But his callousness, I think it's to have those 4 people, those 4 soldiers killed in Afghanistan, to have all of the carnage, as you point out, still going on back there, and you just callously turn your back on it, and you never utter one single word from that point till now. He hasn't talked one bit about Afghanistan. When you talk about this,
every time I hear him say, "God bless our troops," what about those people who saved our troops over there?
Absolutely.
What about those people who are literally living in spider holes because they're afraid of being beheaded in a parking lot, like my friend was?
Yeah. Laura, there's a callousness I've come to see here that's unsettling, because we want to see the gentle old grandfatherly figure that's going to like Reagan was. I mean, in perception, who came in, whether you love Reagan, hate Reagan, in the middle. He brought that. Even a lot of, they call them Reagan Democrats, came over and said the stability he brought after the Carter administration, when everything was just chaos, the leadership was comforting. He's just not that. He's become, I hate to say it, but he's kind of just a mean old man. When you get older, up to that age, 2 things happen. You become more gentle, or you become mean as hell. You see it all the time. And, I hate to say that, because I'm sure he loves his family, he loves his kids, and, I don't wish any ill will on him. But as they say, the cliche, and that it is what it is, really applies here. And every single day, you see further proof this man really doesn't care about the suffering. whom the Democrats purport to protect, the poorest of the poor.
No.
If you really cared about that, you'd care about inflation and gas prices would mean enough to you. You'd say, I'm grudgingly going to support, the Keystone Pipeline. And I know, Laura, what you were saying, and I agree with you, that instantly the Keystone Pipeline itself is not going to immediately provide energy. But what it does, as you well know, the oil companies, gas companies, they play in futures. If you'll just show them policies that they can count on, you get the pipeline going. They have a lot of ways, maneuvers they can make, and to lower the prices.
It was going to change the transport from rail to pipe. That was all it was going to do.
Right.
It wasn't going to increase anything, and it wasn't going to change anything, and it wasn't going to affect our energy efficiency whatsoever, because all of that was going to be either sent back to Canada or sold overseas.
Right.
It had nothing to do with us.
Right. On that point, I agree with you. But at least what the oil companies are saying, and that's part of the perspectives that you want to consider in making opinions on this, as just one aspect. What they say, the gas companies, is, look, we can do things, to reduce the price, to increase the flow, but, this stuff just doesn't come out of the ground and into your gas tank. There's a whole expensive refining process.
But
if
believe that thing that reported a $35 billion profit,
yeah, they're
doing 8% stock buyback.
Yeah,
on the backs of the poor people.
Yeah, they make a lot and they spend a lot. But the point is, what history has shown us, if you have policies that allow them, they say, well, the leases, yeah, but they have more leases now than they've had before. Yeah, but there's regulations attached to those leases that need to go away so that they can, it makes it profitable for them to be able to. What I'm saying is, to have a energy policy as Biden has, to where you're going to put fossil fuel out of business. And by the way, the most egregious perpetrators of fossil fuel you're going to put in jail. I mean, it's all out war on fossil fuel. So you get these companies going, why do we want to continue to seek a bunch of money, and policies are going to keep us from even selling it on the market? The end game is to create a zero market for our product. So they're going to play the cards close to their vest here. And it'd be great if they said, well, that's all right. We're going to go ahead and take a loss. Let's go ahead and, give all the oil away and because we're good Americans, and that sounds good. And probably I wish it would happen, but they have a business to run. But anyway, I share. And Bullet, do you have anything to add before we go to break?
I think unfortunately, as Laura has indicated, this whole to circle back around to Biden's trip to the Middle East was just a big photo op. Again, questioning why the timing is now, what's to be accomplished, and I think we all agree that nothing's to be accomplished or could be accomplished with certainly with the Saudis. Come on. So it was just a big photo op, and you really have to wonder what.
But was it even a good photo op?
Well, what would
you want to be fist bumping a killer that killed?
I don't know.
Had a guy assassinated,
it comes back again. What's the whole point? And putting people's lives in jeopardy, as Laura's indicated, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Because it gives him another scapegoat. It gives him another scapegoat as to why he can't bring oil prices down, why he can't do this, why he can't do that. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for excuses, and they're looking for scapegoats. And so he went over and he had his little photo op. But MBS is a sociopath. He's crazy. He's a murderer.
Yeah.
He's not going to do anything to help the U.S.
No,
that's what it's going to come down to. And the reality is, it's Biden's own mouth that got us into this.
Yeah, I agree.
So if he kept his mouth shut like an adult,
I agree.
I know murderers. I hate to say that. I found that out last night.
Yeah.
That's a weird factoid about me. I know 3 convicted murderers, but I never called them that to their faces.
Yeah, I'm still scratching my head. I don't get it. What does he gain? Because he's going to come back, and politically, what does he gain? It's another to me, it's just further impetus for the Democratic Party to distance themselves from him, because he's going to come back a photo op, fist bumping son of Sam, and you don't get any oil out of it. So what did you gain from that? You have a photo op fist bumping the guy who dismembered a Washington Post journalist, and you get no oil. So where's the net gain of any kind? I mean, you lose on both sides of the spectrum.
Well, the idea is that they can then point the finger at MBS and say, well, because the president stood up and called him a murderer, he's not going to do anything to help the U.S.
Okay, I don't know if you see this, Laura. This is breaking right now. It's live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Biden is speaking right now. Here's what the headline says. CNN says, we have accomplished some significant business today. Well, that's a really specific statement. What has gotten? And then the Fox News says Biden says Saudis will partner with U.S. on clean energy.
Like they really
and
care.
And people wonder why I have episodes of subpsychotic rage.
Yeah, if you believe that, I got some beachfront property in Parlier I'd like to sell you. I mean,
the Saudis and green
well, there
energy.
you go. You got nothing, and you're trying to at least they're trying to manufacture
make something. Yeah,
a victory here. I mean, the Saudis are going to partner with the United States on clean energy.
Yeah.
How the heck? No, we don't want any more oil. Bring all those solar panels over here.
We're going electric tomorrow.
We're going electric tomorrow. Oh my goodness. All right, Laura. Thank you for calling in, my friend. Appreciate you so much, dear. Have a great weekend. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat with me. Yeah, we'll read these little things here. These psychological facts, they say.
I got a psychological.
What's a psychological fact?
Where's Farley? Sound gamey in here. Where's Farley? I don't know. Where's Farley? Well, he's been dead for 2 years. Oh, no wonder it's so gamey in here. Something like that.
Oh, man. Biden, I raised Khashoggi murder at the top of the meeting. Oh, gosh. What, come on. What? Look at him. God, bless his heart, man.
Trying to stay awake.
Does anybody believe that he sat right down, is at the top of the meeting, sat down with that crown prince and his daddy, and said, before we get started, I'm really mad that you killed that journalist and dismembered him. Where do you go with that? There's no way he said that at the top of the meeting.
No.
There's no way.
Didn't happen.
It would have been the shortest meeting in Saudi Arabian history. That's why,
Maybe he raised that after he talked about green energy.
Oh, man. I tell you, you know that old saying, when somebody's lying? And so-and-so's lying, his lips are moving. Sadly, I think we're at that point. Goodness gracious. If the midterms, the Republicans can win the House and the Senate, maybe there's a chance that our president will change his tune and just bring back some common sense to the Oval Office. Part of me says that, wants to believe that. The other part of me just says, that's just his way to say no to everything. He'll just say no. He'll write it out to the 2020. I don't think he's going to make the midterm still. I stand by that. People think I'm a little.
Who was I listening to the other day had the same opinion?
They won't make it to the midterm?
He wasn't going to make it there.
Yeah, I've said that early on. Guillermo thinks I'm
an unknown
rocker.
An unnamed source. I can't remember who it was.
Farley. Where's Farley? I ain't going to make it to the midterm.
Where's my wallet? You stole it, didn't you? No, I didn't, I swear. Floyd ate it. Floyd the snake. Floyd ate it. Whatever happened to Floyd?
Tell folks who you're doing so they'll know.
Farley, I wouldn't look correct now,
seconds.
but you're sitting flat dab right on fire, right on.
I couldn't live like that.
Sitting smack dab on a sidewinding rattlesnake. Floyd.
Oh,
The sound effects.
10 seconds.
What kind of food
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, folks, we only have a couple of minutes left in the show. We were going to do something, but we're going to go something else, but we're going to go to the phone lines because Amanda from Las Vegas, I think, is first-time caller. Amanda, you there?
Here we go.
Amanda?
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm
yes,
better.
Hi, how are you?
I'm better than I deserve. What's on your mind, young lady? Thank you for calling in. I wish we had a little bit more time, but we got a few minutes left, and it's all yours.
Well, thank you. I had heard your comments about the electric
Yes.
cars, and I understand from a green standpoint. I get it. But also, growing up in Texas, and my dad's in the oil and gas industry, and growing up doing that, what I feel like a lot of the green energy people don't realize is, where does the car come from? Doesn't it come from a factory? Doesn't it, isn't there a carbon footprint with that factory?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
and what's the break-even point of, you have to do all of this stuff to make that electric car.
Exactly.
And then I know the battery change on my pickup is only about $200, where the battery change on an electric vehicle is about anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000. So you want us to spend money on a green car so we don't have to buy fossil fuels, and that's wonderful. But what about everything else that comes with it?
That is such a great point.
Exactly right.
It is exactly right. And, we're facing out here, Amanda, in California, where this state went in big on solar panels, but now they don't know what to do with the solar panels. That's become an environmental issue, with landfills. They're poisoning. Where do you put all of this waste?
A lot of foresight and thought went into that. didn't it?
Yeah, and that comes from just not trusting the American people to tell the whole story, because these are really good questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you, Amanda. Hey, listen, if we can transition, in an economically sane way to everything that can run on renewables, and we're not at the mercy of a grid that can shut down tomorrow, I just don't see it. And they're becoming, like you said, your family's in the oil business. You'd probably be more knowledgeable on this than I am, but I hear all the time that the fossil fuel is becoming cleaner and cleaner as we go along.
Oh yeah, yes. And the things that and we weren't living like J.R. Ewing. I promise you, we were not at all. That is a myth. And but I can tell you that all the things that my dad had to go through with the EPA and all of the changes and everything else, it's just insane. And it drives the cost up,
Exactly.
but I understand why. But it's not as horrific as people think it is. It's, now when there's companies that are being irresponsible to cut corners, yes, that is awful. It is tragic what's happened to the environment and things like that. But for, in the general standpoint, it's like, it's not near as bad.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, it's just terrible that, sorry, my alarm was going
on. No, that's okay.
That I just think it's terrible that, all this stuff is happening and they're pushing this green energy. And then I also see the windmills, and my husband and I went to Santa Cruz a couple of years ago, and the scenery was just absolutely beautiful, with the exception that it was littered with windmills all over the place.
I know where you're talking about. Yep. Just all over the little mountains there, the little hills. Yeah. Well,
yeah, and it just made me sick. I'm going, and this is, I understand, but to me, it's like you're destroying, God's beauty and everything just for the wind energy that's not going to produce near as much as they want it to do.
Well, as the old saying, the devil's in the details, and the details in this whole green energy movement are the details that are destroying this economy. You look at what's happening in Sri Lanka. You look at what's happening in Germany. These people went all in, the leadership, and they're paying an awful price because the green technology just isn't there and available to the people that had availability. It has to be there. Amanda, thank you for calling in, man. Make sure you call in again. We appreciate that, and always appreciate first-time callers. This is your show. Let your voice be heard.
Well, thank you.
You can go on the internet and watch it later on, folks. It's a lot of fun. All right, folks, God bless you, and just do your best. Let God do the rest. Pearl, thanks for being here. Folks, thanks for being here. I got to go.
Who cares about the clouds?